The Saga of Ragnar Loðbrok, Chapter 19. It came to pass that in this one land a certain king had 2 sons. He took sick and breathed his last, and his sons wished to drink a funeral feast for him. They decreed that all men could come there to the feast that had heard of it in the next 3 winters. Now this was heard widely throughout the land, and in these 3 winters they prepared the feast. And when the summer came, when they would drink the funeral feast, and the time which was appointed arrived, the feast turned out to be so very filled with men that none knew of its precedence, it was so large. And a great many halls were prepared, and many tents set up outside. And when the first evening was far on its way, a man came into the hall. This man was large, that none were as large, and from his attire it could be seen that he had been with noble men. And when he came into the hall, he went before the brothers and spoke to them, and asked where they would direct him to sit. He pleased them well, and they told him to sit on the upper bench. He needed the space of 2 men. As soon as he sat down, drink was brought to him as to other men, but there was not a horn so large that he might not drink of it in one drink. And all thought that they could discern that they were all as nothing compared to him. Then it happened that another man came to the feast. He was rather larger than the one before. Both men had low-hanging hoods. And with this man came before the high seat of the young kings. He spoke handsomely and asked them to direct him to a seat. They said that this man should sit farther in than on the other on the bench. Now he went to his seat, and together they took up so much room that 5 men had to rise up for them. And he who came first was a smaller drinker. And the second one drank so quickly that he poured nearly every horn into himself, and men did not find that he became drunk. And it seemed he held his seatmates in contempt, and he turned his back on them. He who came first said that they should have a game together. And I will go first. He shoved the other with his hand and spoke a verse. Speak of your great achievements. Educate us, I ask you. Have you seen the raven shudder on the branch, bloated with blood? Have you more often been otherwise, found in the high seat, rather than gathering bloody carrion for the birds of war in the dale? Now it seemed to him who sat on the outside that he was challenged by such a direct verse, and he spoke a verse in reply. Be silent at once, you called to stay at home. You are content with very little. You have never done what I may boast of. You have not fattened the sun-seeking bitch with the drink of sword's play, but gave up the harbor horses. What is troubling you? Now he who came first answered, We let the strong cheek of the horses of the sea run to the waves, the sides of our bright Mel splattered with blood. Then she will feasted, the hunger of the eagles was sated on the blood from men's reddened necks, while we seized the hard meal of the fish's land. Now he who came second spoke. Very little I saw of you when the swift-wading horses found the brewing white plain before them, and with weak courage you hid from the ravens near the mast, when we turned our red prows against the land. And then the one who came first spoke. It does us no honor to quarrel about what we have done greater than the other over ale in the high seat. You stood upon that sword stag as waves bore it through the sound, and I sat in the berth as the red prow rode in the harbor. Now he who came second answered, We were both companions of Bjorn at the sword den. We were proven warriors when we strove for Ragnar. I bear the wound in my side from the heroes' beaks in the land of the Bulgars. Neighbor, sit farther in beside me. And in the end, they knew each other and were together there at the feast. And thus ends chapter 19.